Red card again. The Pool B landscape is becoming a lot clearer now. England take the win 39 points to 10 against Argentina and become the first team to secure their quarterfinal spot in this World Cup. Kia ora everyone, my name is Zach and I love rugby. Welcome back to Hakatime Rugby. So what a game. This one was billed as the big one for England in the lead up to the quarterfinals, the first of the major matches against the Tier 1 nations. And they certainly delivered. I mean, in terms of the game itself, they got the result, they got the bonus point finish, and they secured the quarterfinal berth. So it is job done. But what we're going to do now is we're going to recap this, we're going to review this, we're going to revise this, and dive into the details, because I think there are a lot of smaller details in this game that are quite telling as we lead into the quarterfinals. Now, first talking point that we have to cover is the red card. Clear contact with the head in the 17th minute. Now, overall, to the letter of the law, I have no problems with this call from the ref. It is clearly a red card, lazy defense. Obviously, the tackler just did not go low enough and therefore made contact with the head. And Owen Farrell seems to have a habit of putting his head in the wrong place, resulting in penalties or cards. So I hope he's okay. It looks like he was fine and he was able to play on, but obviously that red card changed this game completely. From that point on, it just felt like it was inevitable that England would win this game, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, the only thing that we can say is, are these rules now? I know the rules are significantly favoured towards maintaining player safety, and that is great. But at what point do we look at the detriment of the game and say, is it really worth it? Are we losing the kind of product that we want as viewers in terms of rugby? And that's the only concern that I have. I have no issue with the way that the refs, both the TMO and the ref, applied the law. I have no issue with issuing a red card in this. But do we need to look at these laws and with a lens that will ensure that we still have open, free-flowing rugby without impacts like this in a World Cup impacting the complete result and outcome? Steve Hansen said before the World Cup that he expects the refs will determine the outcome of this World Cup. And this is a good example. Although I do think that it's probably a bit harsh to put this one completely at the blame of the refs. I mean, the tackler was a little bit lazy. But the laws themselves, now, in my mind, a yellow card would have been more than sufficient. That is enough of a disadvantage to a team for a 10-minute spell to ensure that, obviously, England in this case would be able to go forward with a definite advantage. So that's probably the first talking point, something we need to look at. Overall, fine with the decision. The only thing I don't like is in major matches like this, the outcome is decided in the 17th minute, and that doesn't serve the fans well at all. Second talking point that I want to get to. There was a moment, and really we have to look at this and think Argentina played a very, very gallant challenge. It was 39 points to 10, but at one stage they were very, very much in this game in the lead up to half-time. But there was a period with 2 minutes to go in the first half where England secured the penalty and kicked deep into the Argentinian 20. And at that point it felt like a key moment in the game, and I believe it was. Going into a half-time at 10 points to 3, down one try for a team that is down 14 men for 20 minutes, you would look at that and get a bit of confidence in the first half and say, we actually did a good job to still be in touch. And confidence is key in all of these matches. It's something that you can build on going in to the second half. Now, to go down 17 points to 3 at halftime is a huge psychological issue. So for England with that last 2 minutes, it really was a critical point in that first half. And I believe in that moment where they scored that try just before the halftime, they essentially broke an understrength Argentinian team that was down to 14 men. Critical moment. You could see it at the time of the penalty that this will basically determine whether or not Argentina can maintain a spirited game or whether or not they're essentially broken. And in my mind, they were broken in that moment just before halftime. And we've seen it so many times with many different teams that period just before and after halftime is crucial. And England certainly got on top. The next talking point that I want to get to is the kicking game. And I thought Ben Youngs and George Ford and Owen Farrell did not have a great tactical kicking game. There really were some box kicks that I thought were just a little bit aimless. They seemed to kick straight down the middle of the field. There were times where they were kicking for touch and the ball would go out. I think that the kicking game in particular was a concern for England, and the better teams will put you under immense pressure where you have a lackluster kicking game. The other thing I thought in relation to kicking is that they just didn't seem to have high contestability on those kicks, and that is the key, right? So putting up a midfield bomb, for example, the difference between a chasing midfield bomb and a relaxed defensive midfield bomb is night and day. And All Blacks in particular, as well as many of the other teams, Ireland included, they all put teams under pressure from poor kicks. The counter-attack is key in this Rugby World Cup. And ultimately for me, it is one of the key weapons that teams like the All Blacks use when they're counter-attacking. Most of their points now in this World Cup have come from counter-attacking rugby. If you look at that game against the Springboks, 2 errors, 2 turnovers, 2 tries. And that's a real concern that teams need to be aware of. Aimless kicking just hands over possession to the opposition, and good teams will punish you for lazy tactical kicking. So I think that's probably something England needs to look at as they move forward into the next match against France. Next major talking point as we look forward now. So Pool C, England, congratulations, they secure the quarter-final berth. They now move into the last of the pool games against France. That will ultimately decide the outcome of this pool in terms of who finishes first and who finishes second. Beyond that, we start to get into quarter-final rugby. And at that point, it's anyone's game. Now, as I look forward, based on this performance from England, I will say they probably get a pass mark at best. I don't think they did too much in terms of exceptional play. Their kicking game was a little off, and I think a lot of the kicking, the tactical kicking, was just a little bit lazy. Now, as I mentioned, if you start to play like that against the better teams, they will punish you. So it's certainly a concern. And it's very, very likely that England will meet Australia in the first of the quarterfinals. And I would be very, very cautious about poor kicking. Now, their forward play obviously is one of their main strengths in terms of the English attack. That's fine, and I expect that they will have a far superior forward pack to the Australian forward pack. But the backs of Australia are very, very unpredictable. They have some great game breakers, and they certainly do not want to be handing possession over to teams that will just counter-attack at pace. It's a mistake. So that's a concern. I think England needs to just tighten up on that aspect. If they can do that, then they will be highly, highly competitive in this World Cup. If they cannot, they will get punished. So let's see. I'm sure that Eddie Jones is all over this. I'm sure that he's having those discussions with his players. I'm sure there's moments they would like to have back and they will be reviewing as a team. And I'm sure they can resolve the issue and move forward. Now, England, to me, are one of the prime contenders in this World Cup. And they'll be very, very difficult to beat. Main reason is that they have variety across the field and they have danger players across the field. From 1 to 15, actually from 1 to 23, there are game breakers there. So all teams will need to take this English team lightly. All teams will be hoping that there will be some errors, some inefficient tactical kicks in play. That'll give them opportunities to counter-attack. But I do think England can tighten up on those concerns in their game and can move forward into quarterfinals. I can't wait. We're getting closer to the big matches. It's going to be huge. Probably the only other major concern for England is that they do play, in order to win this World Cup, they have to beat 5 Tier 1 teams. They've just beaten Argentina, and they'll be happy that they came out of that relatively in a good state. I mean, they weren't tested too much. It was enough to just get a really, really good hit out. The result from the 17th minute onwards was predetermined to a degree. A good, effective run for them. And now they move into France. I mean, the last thing you want to do when facing 5 Tier 1 teams in a row is be battered and bruised in the first game. The good thing is they came out of this without too many injuries and what was quite a leisurely pace towards the end. I mean, they sort of dropped off for the last 20 minutes and were able to just coast to the finish line. And I think that is great preparation as you lead into more tough matches. What is essentially from this point, once we get into the quarterfinals, it's knockout rugby, but you're playing continuous top-tier teams. And that's something that they'll need to manage, and they were able to do that in this game against Argentina. Those are my thoughts, top to bottom, start to finish. For Argentina, the only thing I'll say is they've put up some game challenges in this World Cup. They've probably underperformed, and their World Cup I think, essentially hinged on that one kick to win the game against France. Unfortunately, they missed it. Then they've come in with their last opportunity against England and weren't able to capitalise. So they will look at this and think that they underperformed to a degree, particularly as the Jaguares has really, really improved Super Rugby competition. We're able to be finalists there. That was the core of this team. They did everything right in the lead up to this World Cup, but it ultimately comes down to moments. And the moment against France with that 3 points, that was a key moment that was missed. And the moment against England in the last 2 minutes where they gave up that try, that's essentially game over. Also the red card, there's another moment. Key moments determining the ultimate fate of these teams. And I'll leave it there. That's it from Haka Time Rugby. Come back for more videos. Please like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget we're running the competition at the moment, so get involved in that. I'll give more details at the end of this video. Enjoy the Rugby World Cup, guys, and we will talk very, very soon. Competition, competition, competition time. It's competition time, guys. Welcome back to Haka Time Rugby. Now, for those who were following previously, you will know that we ran a competition on the Ireland versus Japan match. The competition itself was very, very simple to enter. All you have to do is subscribe. That's step one. Step two was to select the score and the winner in that game. Now, unfortunately, myself included, nobody predicted that Japan was going to win versus Ireland. So that means we are running another competition. And it is going to be on the final pool match between Japan and Scotland. All you've got to do, very, very simple, is subscribe. That's step one. Pick the score. That's step two. And tell me who is going to win. That's it. If you do that, you are in the draw, and the winner will receive an international rugby jersey of your choice. Now, the conditions on this, we will close off the entries 1 hour before the match. The jersey has to be easy enough for me to buy as well. I don't want some custom jersey, $2,000, $5,000. No, it must be standard issue international jersey, accessible on any website that I can go to, purchase and send to you very simply. So that's it. You got a lot of time to enter, so I encourage you to share, tell your friends, get them all involved, and let's pick a winner here. This one could go either way as well, so I hope to see entries on both sides. Japan winning, Scotland winning. One last point, you can only enter once per subscriber, and that is it. Please, please, please give me your predictions in this video. And that's it. Good luck. Talk soon, guys. See ya.